And hello, welcome to the Social Justice Forums. I am your host, Daren Jaime. We thank you for joining us. Now, if you're asking the question, what is the show all about? Well, we bring you a forum that's providing deeper understanding of some of the issues, as well as the inequities that so many people face. Things such as systemic inequalities to pressing social problems. Our guests provide multiple perspectives as well as insights, helping us to better understand and address these challenges. So we invite you to stay connected with us as the Social Justice Forum starts now. And welcome back. The United States identifies two main types of trafficking: forced labor and sex trafficking, both constituting modern slavery prevalent in every state. Now, the scale of this issue is alarming. JCCA offers top-tier mental health, education, and child welfare services for families in New York City. Their their Center for Healing specifically caters to children who survive sexual exploitation, an egregious form of child sexual abuse, often involving trafficking. Joining me now and sharing more is a social work therapist at Center for Healing, Kerry Dawyot. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to raise awareness about human trafficking.
It's very prevalent, and as we talk about, the numbers don't lie, and we see these numbers continuing to rise, but agencies such as yourself really are at the forefront of making sure that this matter gets looked at and also addressed.
Absolutely.
Can you share a little bit more for us?
So, JCCA is actually a 200-year-old child and family services organization that provides high quality child welfare and mental health services to over 17,000 children and their families every year across New York City and the rest of the state. We have multiple programs that strive to reunite families and keep our most vulnerable children safe. At the Center for Healing, where I work, we're located in Pleasantville, New York, right outside of the Bronx. And we provide comprehensive, specialized trauma informed services to children who have been sexually abused or are at risk or have experienced the commercial sexual exploitation.
And for your organization, obviously providing healing and help is most needed, as well as the resources. So for your clients, let's talk about some of these services that are actually available to clients.
Yeah, so we provide individual therapy. We use different trauma informed modalities such as trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy. We also provide family therapy, in home services. Our ultimate goal is to heal children and reunite them with their families.
And when we talk about the therapy that you provide for children, uh, obviously they come in with a lot of tension, a lot of baggage. Um, I assume that it does take a while before you get a child to really be able to connect and then also to provide the services that are most needed.
Yeah, definitely. Our children have experienced a lot of different forms of abuse, whether it be physical, sexual, neglect. We're talking about human trafficking. A lot of our children have been commercially sexually exploited. So adults that they thought they could trust that then hurt them.
Yeah. And so, how do we not justify, but how would we actually define human trafficking? There's no justification. Let me make sure about that. But how do you define human trafficking?
Yeah, so the Department of Homeland Security defines human trafficking as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. It's actually the second most profitable illegal industry in the United States. Some ways we see human trafficking can be through forced labor, domestic servitude, or by the commercial sexual exploitation of children, often referred to as CSEC. So, what is CSEC? CSEC involves a range of crimes and activities involving the sexual abuse or exploitation of a child for the financial benefit of another person or the sexual exchange for anything of value. Now, this can be monetary or non monetary. In New York City alone, it's estimated that 2,200 children are victimized by commercial sexual exploitation annually. And a New York State study actually showed that up to 85% of trafficking victims had prior child welfare involvement, which just kind of highlights how important this work is.
And when we talk about the highlighting of the work, obviously 2,200 kids in New York City is a big number. That's a huge number to see. And there's many other cases that that are out there. For
Mhm.
somebody who's coming across your doors, give us a little bit of an idea of what happens from the moment a person comes through your doors to getting them to the place where they are now back and stable.
Yeah, so at JCCA, we have a behavioral health and wellness team. So it's a group of clinicians that are trained in various modalities. As I said, Center for Healing, we specialize in CSEC. So a child, as soon as they enter our facility, they are assigned a therapist. So they get weekly individual therapy, but you know, we they're on campus. They live here. They go to school here. They receive their services here, medical. So we also provide a lot of crisis intervention and help them day to day.
When we talk about human trafficking, give me an idea as to what are some of the things that we're hearing by way of stereotypes and myths, some things that probably we can debunk right now to get our viewers a little bit more closer to the issue at hand.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions, unfortunately. So that's why I'm glad that you have us here today. One misconception is kind of this ambivalence that it doesn't happen in the United States, or if it does, it doesn't happen in my town or my community, or when it happened to my child or my child's friend. Kind of movies like Taken have really fueled this misconception of it happening in this large underground rings in foreign countries. But the truth is, it happens everywhere. And it's difficult to even fully capture the scale due to the underreporting and the stigma around it.
And for human trafficking, there are different types, if you will. And I became acquainted with this. Did an interview with Q English not too long ago, and we were talking about the different types, or I should say, some time ago, and we were talking about the different types of human trafficking. For our viewers, what are the different types of human trafficking?
Well, I mean, we see it in many different forms. People think that it's just traffickers only target strangers, right? This idea of stranger danger and that the bad people are pulling, kids into their car isn't actually the case. It's much more likely for youth to be groomed and recruited by those closest to them. So whether it be a relative or a family friend, a known neighbor, boyfriend, or even a friend, like traffickers will frequently use children in care to recruit other children due to these increased vulnerabilities and access. These children that recruit their peers are often threatened that, if they don't produce another child, 60% are recruited by peers. And another dangerous misconception is that these youth are child traffickers, whereas in reality, they're children who have been victimized and are just trying to survive. There's other misconceptions that only girls are victims, but in fact, one third of the youth are actually male. And this number is even more likely to be much higher, but unfortunately, these cases are more likely to go unreported due to the stigma and these feelings of shame, or warning signs get missed. People tend to be so focused on the warning signs for girls that they ignore the same signs for boys.
Warning signs. That's something we can talk about because that means that speaks to awareness. People knowing what to really look out
Mhm.
for, what to watch out for. I'm interested to know about that conversation that goes on in communities. How receptive are communities to the fact of human trafficking? Given the fact that you've made the analogy before, like most of us, you'll sit around and say, "Hey, I've seen Taken with Liam Neeson, and that's not
Mhm.
here. That's not in my neighborhood." But the reality is, it's right in our neighborhoods, happening right under our doors, happening right under our noses.
Yeah, knowing these misconceptions really does help. Dialogues in the community, like one of the simplest ways is through educating on the wording that is used. We often hear these children referred to as child prostitutes, and this can be so harmful. They're children, right? They can't be prostitutes. They cannot consent to sexual acts. they are children who have experienced sexual abuse. So also educating parents, teachers, caregivers on the warning signs, such as like changes in demeanor, appearance. Do they have new piercings, new tattoos? Are they frequently running away? Spending time in hotels or motels, especially with older people. Changes in friend groups or financial changes, such as having more or even less. Sometimes we'll have kids that just got their allowance and then they leave and then they have no money, right? So you think that you're coming back, but having less can be a sign. Um, Other signs, girls that leave and then they come back with their nails done and their hair done. And we know that their allowance doesn't pay for that, right? New sneakers, a new iPhone. These are all signs that we should be looking out for.
And if I find someone to be, I perceive in a harm's way, what's my next step in terms of navigating this? I might suspect somebody of trafficking or being trafficked. What do I do?
Yeah, so if you know someone who may be the victim of human trafficking, you can call 911 or local law enforcement, but you can also call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888, or you can text help or info to be free at 233-733. You can also visit our website at www.cfhny.org to learn more about what we do at Center for Healing.
Kerry, I want to ask about, training, because I think that's also important for us to be, we talk about workshops and stuff like that. There is training that's involved for people who want to know more about this?
Yes. So at Center for Healing, we have very specialized trainings that we provide to all the different disciplinaries on campus, whether it be the medical, the residential staff, teachers. But we also provide this to outside agencies as well. Again, on our website, you can request that. And we also saw, a very detrimental gap in education for those working with the intellectually and developmentally disabled population, which led us to create a training on CSEC and IDD, which we actually had the honor of presenting to other professionals at the 2023 International Symposium on Child Abuse in Alabama. We also are creating a workbook for the IDD population that have experienced CSEC, which is interactive and it teaches the warning signs, the tactics abusers use to manipulate young people, while also providing them the knowledge and tools to keep themselves safe or to keep a friend safe.
So when you talk about the awareness that's going on and letting people know what's happening, receptivity, let me ask about that question. How receptive are communities, individuals, given the fact that this is happening and it's happening at an alarming rate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle, to get past that idea that it doesn't happen to them. But we are seeing that a lot more people are becoming aware and, are taking interest in this and are reaching out to us for assistance.
So if people want more information, please give them how to get in touch.
Yes, please.
Oh, if you shared it, I'm not asking you to share.
Oh, I thought I did already. It's our website is www.cfhny.org. There you can find resources, you can request trainings, and we're always open to discuss.
Kerry, I want to thank you so much for being with us. It certainly is a great talking to you. Very serious topic, but great to have the information and the resources available. Thanks much.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Want to let you know we're taking a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.
only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
And we are back. The Children's Village stands as a beacon of hope for young adults who face the hurdles of foster care, triumphed over substance abuse, and emerged from incarceration. The transformative mentoring initiatives plays a vital role in forging life-saving connections, not only in the Bronx, but in various locations across the city, as well as Westchester County. And here, joining me now is the director of the Department of Probation Programs for Children's Village. We got Lisa Starks. And Lisa, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
An opportunity to really impact lives in a tremendous way. And, familiar with Children's Village, but share with us a little bit about the work that you're doing.
So I run, my title is the director. You already said that, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, tell us.
So I'm the director of youth and adult probation programs for the Children's Village, where I oversee programs for youth that have been incarcerated or who are on probation now in the community and who are in the community.
And when we talk about kids who are on probation, obviously that's an in-between place, and obviously keeping track of them is very important. But at the same time, you're also trying to help them to take the next step and go forward, right? So talk to us about the work that you do there.
So what we do is we provide our young people with mentoring services, and how we do that is by making sure that they have credible messengers who work with them and make sure that they have the support and guidance that they need. My role also is to make sure that the staff have what they need as well to do the work.
I want to talk for a minute about those credible messages, right? Because I think that's so much, it's vital. If the kid is going to succeed, we got to make sure that we have to put right mentors in front of them, and then also those mentors have to be credible messengers. The power of mentorship and having those kind of mentors around, what does that mean from your perspective? How do you see it?
So credible messengers, they are essential to the work that we do. They have lived the same lived experiences as our youth, so they're able to make a different connection where some others might struggle. They're able to make those connections and really help youth, because in the work that we do, oftentimes young people feel like you don't understand. But when you have a credible messenger that can work with a young person who understands the road that they've went down and can help them, it makes a significant difference in their lives.
Yeah. So when we talk about empowering tomorrow's leaders, right, that's exactly what goes on. From your goal and your standpoint, what would you like to see happen by way of how to empower them better?
I would like to see, we need more funding.
Right.
It takes a lot to give our young people opportunities. And a lot of our programs, mentoring programs that we have, they only have part-time credible messengers. And the need and the work that they do is full-time. So we definitely need funding so that we could increase hours. We need funding for all of their needs that they have. Our youth have so many challenges that they face. And we would be able to do so much more if we had more resources for them.
Yeah. When I look at the initiatives that you have right now, obviously they're working, right? For somebody who may be looking and saying, listen, I'm trying to cultivate some things that work. From behind your lens, what are some of the things that are working right now?
So what's working is having the right people working with our young people, and then also being able to give them opportunities. So our young people, they want to provide for themselves. So having internships and jobs that our young people can get is vital for their success in life.
Yeah. And for yourself, obviously, you talked about funding being a huge challenge. What are the challenges or organizations such as yourself and doing the work? What kind of work, what kind of challenges do you face on the day-to-day that maybe everybody doesn't know about?
So, so some of the prevalent challenges that our young people face are substance abuse, undiagnosed mental health illness, homelessness, and gang violence. Those are some of the prevalent challenges that they face.
Yeah. And to be able to tackle those, obviously, you need resources to be able to tackle those. Is there a trend of what you're seeing come across the door more frequently?
Yes, definitely more frequently. Homelessness is really prevalent amongst a lot of our youth. And the good thing is that we have people that work with us who are able to connect them to resources, whether that's within our organization or referring them to some of our community partners to tackle some of those issues, because it can be a lot for our credible messengers to deal with.
Yeah. And so spending that time really dealing with those issues, the homelessness and employment. How are things going in the employment field right now? Is it pretty challenging?
It's challenging. I don't think getting our youth jobs, I think it's really more so preparing them for it and helping them to be able to remain employed. A lot of our young people lack skills. So that's what we're trying to do when we're working with them, is teach them those soft skills so that they can be successful with employment. We have some of our mentors and staff that work with us that are really connected to the communities, so they're able to plug them in to different jobs and internships, but they really need the job readiness skills and soft skills to make them be successful.
So when we talk about those soft skills, a lot of young people do lack them, right? And we're finding that in order to be employed, you have to have those skills in place. The message of really getting that through to them, hard one, easy one.
It's hard. Sometimes they think, oh, it doesn't take all of that. I don't need to do that. But we get them to really look at, some of them have been employed before, lost their jobs. So we go over with them, like, why do you think that is? And we point out, like, what were some areas that you had? Oh, I was late. I didn't get up. I wasn't there on time. And we're like, well, those are important things that you have to do to be successful and keep your job.
Yeah, very, very important to do, to be able to do that. But when you talk about relationships, obviously you're doing a great job of relationship building too. Having people be able to understand the importance of relationships. The work that you do, what kind of impact are you seeing in the lives of some of these young people?
We're seeing young people come in. Sometimes they're just very mistrustful and angry, and we see them leave with a total different attitude. Our young people are graduating from high school or equivalent to that. We have young people that are getting accepted into colleges, that are getting employment, getting jobs in sectors that they're interested in. So it's great to see that.
So the Transforming Mentoring Initiatives, it's instrumental in fostering life-saving connections. Also, we talked about the Bronx, New York City, and again, let's talk about that reach.
Yes, so, sorry.
No problem. So I was saying, just talk about the reach that you're having in terms of, you're able to touch so many people all across the city, and then, where you are right now.
Yes, so we are working with kids in the Bronx community, and we also reach young people that are also in the Harlem community as well.
Yeah, and that's important because obviously when you think about having a reach, you're not just one place. You got a few locations, and also, you're making a huge difference. For somebody who's thinking about really being a part of this, to speak into the lives of young people, and being that credible messenger, if you will, what does it take?
It really takes a lot of passion. It takes patience. Because our young people don't open up, that quickly. It takes consistency. So if you tell a young person that you're going to do something, you need to do that, because they will hold you accountable for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. that they definitely will. When we talk about young people today, and you look at your sphere of work and your sphere of influence, obviously since COVID, things have changed for a lot of people. For yourself, what has it been like since COVID in the work that you're doing? Have you seen you've had to adapt, make changes? What are you seeing around since COVID?
So after COVID happened, we definitely had to change. We had to make some of our work that we do with young people remote. So we still have actually those are good tools because some of our young people are not group ready. So we have that option available where they can still log in virtually and still get this, get the group sessions and services that they need that way. Also, a lot of our young people were isolated for a long time. So now we're trying to get, after COVID, we were trying to get them acclimated back into the community and help them to be out there again.
Yeah. Isolation has been huge, right? And when isolation, lack of conversation, does it kind of make it hard when you get them in front of you talking about, now let's talk about something, when I haven't really been talking to too many people since COVID?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, as we talk about Lisa Starks, if you're just joining us now, she is the director of the Department of Probation Programs over at the Children's Village, and she's been sharing with us a little bit about the work that goes on and talk to me about your dedicated staff. I mean, they're dedicated and they're hardworking.
They are definitely dedicated. They are some of the most creative and innovative individuals that I work with. They're always coming up with different ideas and ways that we can reach youth. They're always thinking of opportunities for them. So they're just dynamic in how they think and their commitment to the work.
Yeah. As you approach 2024, vision, thoughts about what's going to happen this year?
This year, we really want to just create more opportunities for kids outside of the New York City. We have a lot of other organizations in other states that want to partner with us. So we want to take our young people and give them that experience to talk to people outside of New York who are maybe going through the exact same things that they're going through and share their story with them.
Having that experience or exposure to somebody that lives outside of New York, how valuable is that?
It's extremely valuable because a lot of our young people never leave their community. So we are able to give them those opportunities. We've actually taken kids to Canada before, where we did exchange with Ryerson University, and our young people were blown away. Some of them never been on an airplane. We were able to give them passports, and the experience was, they were like, wow, I can't believe that I'm actually outside of the country. And it opened their mind to what's out there beyond just what they see every day.
Yeah, that exposure is critical, right? I think that once you give somebody exposure, it creates a whole lot of opportunities and some pathways for young people to go. Any success stories come to mind of some of the young people that you've worked with that maybe you want to share with us?
Yes, so we have, I'm thinking of a young person right now who actually is graduating from Albany State University with their degree in sociology. And it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always easy for her, but with dedication and with the services that she received from our program and the support, letting her know that she can do it and she could be successful, now she's going to be graduating.
Yeah. And when you look at that and you see a person that's had these challenges, right, and was borderline for a minute, but then see them able to get across the graduation line. For you, how does that make you feel?
It's extremely rewarding. It keeps me motivated to do the work, and it lets me know that what we do is needed, and that young people just need a push. They just need people that believe in them so that they can be successful in the things that they want to do. And also, it's not just, we don't only see success with our mentees, but we also see success with our mentors. We actually have a mentor who obtained his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from John Jay, and now he's in his first year of law school. He's a mentor in one of our programs.
Wow, okay, that's awesome. And so you talked before about challenges with funding. I think all organizations, a lot of organizations really are struggling in that area. For you, talk to us about how much of the lifeblood of what you do is tied to funding.
All of what we do are tied to funding. It takes resources to create impact for our young people. And when you look at sometimes how much we spend to incarcerate a young person versus how much we give to keep them in the community and to rehabilitate them, there is such a wide margin in that.
Yeah. What's that conversation like? I mean, when you have those conversations with people, listen, you know what? It does cost more to incarcerate than actually to pour into this person. What's those conversations like?
Sometimes it's they're like, oh, but we give you enough, it's enough, and then you do such great work with what we give you, so obviously it's enough, but it really isn't.
Man, so much more that you want to do, but of course, as we say, funding is the key, and after COVID, of course, things become a little bit more critical, and of course, we're talking about government and budgets. You know exactly how that impacts organizations. But we've been talking with Lisa Stark. She's director of the Department of Probation Programs for Children's Village, and she's been our guest sharing with us. And before we leave, anything you want to share with us about what to look forward to and how to possibly get in touch?
Yes, if you wanna, if there's anybody that wants to be a mentor or give back or has a company or organization that wants to employ or give our young people internships, you can reach out to our website. You can go to childrensvillage.org and click on the link to contact us, and we'll be glad to hear from you.
Yeah, and before we go, as you said, your staff makes a whole lot of difference for what the work that goes on right there. What are some of the staff positions that are there that maybe people don't know about that, that they're getting the work done? What kind of positions do you have?
So we have mentor positions, lead mentor positions. We have program coordinator positions, program managers. Just to name a few.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to the whole staff over there. So I want you guys to keep up the great work. Thank you so much for being with us, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Listen, I want to let you know we are taking a quick break, but guess what? The Social Justice Forum will continue coming up right after this.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, also from The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray every week right here at BronxNet, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Wow, 30 years. 30 years of BronxNet public access television. I'm a girl from Brooklyn and came to the Bronx 25 years ago, started my journey on BronxNet on public access television in 2016, and BronxNet is where I got my start. BronxNet, I feel like, is a home away from home. They support all of my endeavors, and I wouldn't have been able to be on any of the other channels if it wasn't for the fundamentals that I learned right here at my start here at BronxNet. So I am so appreciative. My son says I should stop telling people I'm from Brooklyn because I've been here now, Bronx strong, for 22 years. So I'm so grateful, and I wish you much success in 30 years, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30 more, because public access is necessary so that people like myself can have a voice. Yes, BronxNet, it's your girl Kat from Kitty Rose. Check me out every Saturday at 11 p.m. right here, Channel 68, The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. Mwah.
And we are back. The African Service Committee is a comprehensive human rights agency admitted to aid migrants, I should say immigrants, refugees, and asylees from the African diaspora. Now, they serve over 8,000 individuals annually in New York City by providing essential services such as healthcare, housing, legal support, social welfare, education, nutrition, as well as advocacy. And joining me now is the Executive Director of the African Services Committee, Amanda Lugg. And Amanda, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Daren. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you
It's a
so
pleasure.
much.
I should probably just say thanks for your introduction. But yeah, it's 8,000 folks in a normal year. And I think the last normal year was 2019, what with
Wow.
COVID and now the humanitarian crisis. So yeah, our numbers have grown exponentially. But yeah, we can talk more about that.
Yeah, I mean, as we talk about the numbers, well, I want to talk a little bit about some of the services that are provided because obviously, as we're coming out of COVID, the need for services continues to
Yeah.
increase. And so, for somebody who may not be familiar with the services that you provide, why don't you share with us?
Sure. Well, during COVID, we never closed our doors. We continued working through our case management counseling programs, online, over the phone, meeting folks in public spaces, even. Um, and doing delivery food pantries by car around to people who were either in complete lockdown or couldn't leave their homes for whatever reason. COVID, like for the rest of the world, shifted a great deal, mainly for us in the area of mental health, mental and behavioral health, which really up until then still had some stigma attached to it. But I think, again, globally, it's kind of blown the lid off mental health. Mental health's gone mainstream, so to say. And now the need is overwhelming, particularly for our newest New Yorkers who are arriving with intense, both physical and mental trauma. Majority of whom we're seeing now coming through our doors, who have arrived through the Darien Gap, through the southern border. The programs that we have available to folks who walk in the door, all free of charge, of course. We have an HIV, STI testing and hepatitis B testing center. We have assistance with supportive housing. We have a legal department, as you can imagine, a great deal of immigration activity there, as well as English language classes. The huge majority of the folks we serve are from West Africa, Francophone Africa. So the common language in the office is French. So our English classes are French to English. And should probably add that we have about 45 staff now. 70% of us are African born. And so we have, I believe now it's up to about 15 different languages and dialects spoken, which of course makes us, which we have been for a number of years now, the go-to place for African immigrants, both for cultural and linguistically competent services.
Amanda, when we talk about the migrants, the immigrants that are coming right now, I think a lot of, there's been a lot of stereotyping that's going on. And for someone who's been working with boots on the ground and getting to see them front and center, talk to me about what you're seeing by way of their needs, because they're coming over and they do have needs, but what are some of those specific needs that we're seeing, particularly in our migrant community?
Sure. I think first and foremost is everyone wants asylum, right? That's the ticket. The thing is, as grand as those ideas may sound, you actually need to file your asylum application to then get your work permit, which you receive 180 days after filing your asylum. But we have such a backlog that in itself is weeks, I don't know, months away. The other top needs are the New York City ID, food. We have a food pantry and English language classes, as well as medical insurance, which is really tough, of course, for these folks coming in with no papers whatsoever. So we have a particular program where we have partnerships with a couple of the large city hospitals where we're able to take folks, provide that translation, and get them primary care on a sliding scale for their medical needs. The big difference that we're seeing, of course, is the numbers, but the actual demographics have shifted somewhat. We're seeing people now en masse from countries that we haven't seen these numbers coming from. We're seeing increasing numbers from Mauritania, from Burkina Faso, from Guinea, and of course from Senegal. But what's interesting is that this group of arrivals, the majority do not speak French. They speak their ethnic languages. And so we're seeing, it's increasing the need even more just for your basic translation needs.
Let me jump in on that one. I want to ask a question because when you do have people who are coming, and I know, from, my experience of traveling to Africa, the diversity of languages that are spoken in Africa, and they come over to the United States, and, you're thinking that you're just going to focus on the basic 2 or 3, but the reality is there's a whole lot more linguistically that is called for on the parts of those people who are doing translation here.
Right.
How are you able to navigate that?
Ask me today, I'll give you one answer. Ask me tomorrow, I'll give you another. But yeah, what we've some money is coming through from the city. I have to be fair. We've just got a small 6-month grant that was to address the mental health issues of these new migrants. So what we've done is every other Wednesday evening, it's like an open house, drop-in group, whatever you like, from 4:30 to 8:30, and from 4:30 to 5, the office is still open so they can access particular services or appointments that they need. And then the rest of the time is spent in a great space that we have with a full kitchen. We provide a hot meal. They can have Wi-Fi, community, and we're providing workshops on like how to survive, in New York City. And that literally just started at the beginning of this month. We've done a funding drive. People are coming in with in this snow, Daren, with a sweatshirt on. So we've done a small funding drive, and as that money's coming in, people donate $20, $10, $50. We just every week we're going back onto Amazon, buying coats, hats, gloves and scarves, and then distributing them. And then we've run out by the end of the week. Then it starts again. So yeah, it's all services that we've provided in the past, but the big difference today is the scale of need.
What about educational needs? Because obviously that's also of importance, right? We talk about putting clothes on somebody's back, but then after you get to trying to get a job or to be able to navigate society that you're not familiar with, education is going to be a huge barrier. So how you dealing with the education barrier?
Completely. Yeah, I mean, we have probably hundreds of cab drivers around New York City who are qualified doctors, engineers, and the like. So yeah, language and education is critical. But the first point of entry for the community that we're seeing now is literally English language classes. And from there to GED, or to be able to transfer their educational qualifications to the American one. But that takes money, and honestly, people's immediate needs right now, that's what's taking precedence. I need somewhere to sleep tonight. I need a warm meal. I need a coat. And yes, of course, the work is there. I mean, it is a need. But I think right now it would be more, someone can get a couple of shifts at the local deli, as opposed to thinking that you're going to be able to, begin where you might have left off at home. That said, though, what's very interesting that Brian Lira did a brilliant show on January the 19th, if folks want to listen to it, about the African migrant crisis, and something that connecting the dots, which is interesting. The educational level of folks that we're seeing coming in recently is below the average. And the connections being made are that the increased restrictions from the European Union on migrants crossing the Mediterranean, and from my country into England, there's been such a a tightening on controls. And trying to get it more tighter in England. They're talking about sending people who come over on the boats to Rwanda, but that's for another conversation. Because of these restrictions of entry, making it more difficult to get into Europe, people are seeing more migrants taking the Atlantic way, although it's a lot harder, a lot longer, but there's a much better chance of them being able to get into the country they're trying to get into. And what because this lack of language that I mentioned, how many people actually don't, 3/4 of the people that we're seeing now do not speak French. And apparently I've been told that if folks haven't been to Hello?
I'm here,
Sorry,
Amanda. I'm sorry. I think we had a little technical difficulty, but keep going. If folks, the last part I heard was if folks haven't been to.
Yeah, if folks haven't been to high school
right.
in their country, in Francophone Africa, they will not necessarily speak French.
Okay.
So you could surmise from that the groups that we're seeing coming in right now do not have the educational background perhaps of earlier waves of migration.
Yeah. You spoke earlier about your country, and it doesn't sound like you have a Bronx accent. Where are you from, girl?
Well, I watch a lot of PBS, Daren. I watch a lot of PBS.
Okay.
No, I'm originally from England. My heritage is English and Ugandan, but I was born in England and have been in New York since '93.
Awesome. We love having you, and you're doing great representation, and you're doing a great work. We talked about something earlier, and I want you to just take the time to talk a little bit more about this, because there is this huge mental and emotional gap that I think that immigrants and migrants have to contend with when you come over, and you kind of hit on it. It's that you don't get the opportunity just to pick up where you left off at home, where sometimes you could really be flourishing at home, but then you come here and have to start all over again. Talk to me about how much you've had to counsel people emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, if you had to really let people know, like, listen, I know where you came from, but unfortunately, new territory, and we got to start from scratch.
Exactly, that's exactly it. And I think it just underscores the when we're talking about stigma around immigrants, right? That just underscores the desperation and need that they must have had to have left their country as a doctor, as an engineer, as just someone with a regular job, to be honest. And so the counseling really begins. We have mental health counseling, of course, but the counseling begins dealing with the trauma that has fueled their migration. Everyone's coming with mental trauma and many with physical trauma. We have a large LGBTQ group as well. And as you can imagine, that trauma is intense. And to be honest, the city has recognized this, DOH, there is a dearth of qualified French-speaking mental health counselors, a complete dearth. So much, in fact, that the Governor Hochul, actually last year, in her budget allocated, I believe it was 40 million or 4 million, probably 40 million, towards the educational system to encourage enrollment of more minorities into these degree programs that would support work in behavioral health. So because of that lack as well of post-traumatic growth qualified counselors, we've pivoted with this, again, with these numbers, we've pivoted into that counseling, that non-language mental health counseling, a lot of art therapy, excursions into New York, walks in the park, where you can elicit the same the same conversations, but in a very different and more culturally appropriate way. That just the you spoke about, when folks first come in. I mean, we're dealing with the very basics of like, no, when you speak to someone, you must look at them in the eye. Whereas for many back home, that's a sign of disrespect to look at someone directly in the eye if they're your elder. And so to explain, no, here in America, if you don't look at someone in the eye, then you're not trustworthy, perhaps. Right. So just those tiny little things. Yeah. And the workshops that I mentioned, those kind of things are topics in the workshops. Yeah, it's huge, Daren. It's really huge.
No, I feel you there, Amanda. I know that a lot has been said about talking about immigration, particularly when we talk about what's going on in Europe, the EU, the whole situation with, we're talking about passports, the whole 9 yards, people trying to come over and really just be legal and end up here. What's it like for you on your end with immigration services? I know that you're up, I know that you're up up the creek, if you will, with a lot of immigration applications.
Yeah, that's the thing. We New York State dispersed a couple of million, don't quote me on that, but for legal services, specifically under the Welcome NYC, specifically for the new arrivals. And we received that, a huge chunk of that for our legal asylum clinic, which we began again. We've had to pause it as of 2 weeks ago. The stack of folks that need to be interviewed already. So it's a capacity issue, both with our legal team, but again, I go back to the language, the translation. And what's so weird, that's been like our forte, right? We're well known in the community, in the city, and anyone who has an African client or who needs information, we're the go-to organization. However, now we're saying, yes, we actually have those languages covered, but we don't have enough people and in the positions that need to be filled for that translation.
Yeah. And so, as we only have a few minutes left, but I do want to get a chance to really get a moment. You got to come back now that we done talked, and we it's like we didn't have the family reunion. We just started talking. Now they got to keep going, but we can't keep going. So you got to come back. But I want to talk about, before we go, maybe some things that the public needs to be paying attention to by way of policy that you're advocating for, that possibly that they can back you and support some of the stuff that you see out there.
Well, I know one of the things that both the city and the state have been pushing for is an expedited work permit process, which would, I believe, take away the need for folks to apply for their asylum and then wait that 180 days. I mean, that 180 days is an extremely vulnerable place to be. You're liable for work exploitation, sexual exploitation, all kinds of things, because you have no legal standing to work or to kind of be in the country. So, well, no, I take that back, not to be in the country, but to work. And so to expedite the work permits, which may sound to some like, what, people just come in and you're letting them work? No, what it will do is, I think we know that these people are coming in for good reason. I'd say 99.9%, right? But it would allow them to begin working, to perhaps leave the shelters, which are so overburdened. All of these social services that we're talking about, it would dilute. It would. What's the word I'm looking for, Daren? It would
help
bring
alleviate
down those numbers.
Yes. Okay, alleviate, bring down, right?
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, self-sufficiency. That's all people want to do, is to work and have somewhere to live. And you know why they want to work? Because they need to send money home from the people, many of whom, villages get together and pool the money to send the one young man off to America. And then he will send, if it's $20 a week, Daren, this pays for someone's schooling for a semester.
Right.
In Africa, yeah, as I'm sure you know, in education you have to pay for from the beginning.
Right.
So yeah, no one is coming. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I need to speak to the choir anymore,
No.
but
But
yeah,
no,
no
listen.
one's coming for a free ride. Nobody is coming for a free ride.
Totally understand. And I wanted to get into it. You tapped on it just a second ago. Talk to me about this wage discrimination. How prevalent is that in the African community, given the fact you may not have somebody that has those papers for 180 days? How big is
Right.
wage discrimination?
Who knows? Who knows? But I do know examples of, folks that we speak to, clients of ours, they're being paid $2 an hour, $3 an hour, working in a deli. And they're, for some, it may be more money than they've seen, but to survive in New York, as we know, it's nothing.
Absolutely.
But what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
No, it's a lot to contend with, and it's a lot to really deal with. But for somebody who's coming over, they feel like this is good. But the reality is, when you put it all out there and you find out what the cost of living is, and you've got people who, there's a reason why minimum wage is $15, $16 an hour. It's not because people are being generous. It's because that's exactly what is needed in order to survive, and more is needed to survive in New York. For people who want to get in touch and support your work and the endeavors, what do they do?
Thank you. If you'd like to help us, perhaps donate a couple bucks online so we can buy more coats next week. The website is www.africanservices, all one word, africanservices.org. And we have the Facebook, Twitter, and that, but we do have a donate button on the website. And if you just put it for winter clothes driving, that would be very much appreciated. Not just by me, but the thousands yet to walk in the door.
Yeah, and
Thank
where
you.
where exactly are you located for people who are trying to find you?
We're on 127th West Harlem. We're on 127th between Morningside and Amsterdam.
There you go. Well, Amanda, you may see me sometime soon, so I'll let you know. I grew up right down the block, 237 West 127th Street, apartment 3A in Harlem, New York. So I know exactly where you are. I went to the St. Joseph School right down the block from you. So
yes, still there.
So and it is still there. I know. Yeah. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And I'm telling my producer with you on the air right now, we're going to bring you back. So look for a call.
Okay.
We'll be calling you back soon.
Thank you very much, Daren. All the best. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. All right. Want to let you know we come to the end of our show today. I hope that you enjoyed this week's discussion on the Bronx Social Justice Forum. And we want you to rewatch the episode. If you do, watch the recablecast right here on BronxNet.org. If you want to join in the conversation and present your point of view, yes, visit our social media at BronxNet TV. Join us next week. We'll continue to elevate the discussion and bring further awareness across the globe. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, saying take care and God bless.